Chapter 11, Day 5. Respect the varsity player, but don't fear them. Welcome back to another episode of JV Matters, where we talk about football. I'm your host, Coach Lowry. Also, want to just kind of remind you not to miss my July 4th special weekend or July 4th upcoming event or special that I have coming up on July 4th this weekend. So don't miss it. You'll want to watch that. It's going to be pretty good. So, okay, let's go ahead and get started here with JV practicing with varsity. We want to continue that episode. So, one of the biggest mistakes JV players seem to make when practicing with varsity is confusing respect with fear. So, there's a big difference. You should respect your varsity players, respect uh, the work they put in, respect the experience they have or they've gained. They've been there for a while. They've been there, they're usually up there 3 or 4 years now. Respect the standard they've already helped establish. So they've set the standard for the school already. You're just going to help enforce that standard as you're getting up there. So don't fear them. All right. So because the moment fear takes over, you've already lost the battle in your mind. So a lot of football's really a mind game, a mindset. Okay, so however your mind is, that's how you're going to perceive it when you walk onto that field. So you have to make sure that you have the right mindset, whether you walk on the field in practice and you're practicing against varsity, you're practicing against more of your JV players, your defense against your offense. However, whether you're able to platoon it or whether you're in an actual game situation, all right, it's all up here. It's in the mind, and if you have the right mindset, you will do fine. So you'll never have a good practice when you're practicing with varsity if you let fear take over and you have that bad mindset. Every varsity player was, again, you just have to remember that they were once in your same shoes. So they understand that you're going to make mistakes, that you're going to make lots of mistakes. Because remember, you may be running the scout team of who they're playing that week, okay? And sometimes you may not get to practice a whole lot of your own plays for the game that you're playing on Thursday, which means that really shortens up your practice week. So you just have to make sure that you are paying close attention because what they're practicing or what they're running is what you're going to be playing on Thursday night. Usually that's when you play most of the time. Now, sometimes, depending on what state you're in, you might play on a Saturday. So every varsity, like I said, every varsity player, they tend to be a little bit, or that they were once a JV player as well. So they were nervous at when they were in your same shoes because I remember coaching them as well. Okay, so um, they all uh, they all had the first varsity practice. They all wondered if they belonged as well. They all made the same mistakes that you guys have made. Okay, they all had days when the game felt too fast or when practice was too fast. You're like, my gosh, am I in the right place? Is this going to work out for me? Am I doing the right thing? They the difference was is that they stayed there. They came back the next day. They kept showing up. They kept learning. They kept improving. That's why they're there where they're at now. They knew that they had something there. This was their game. Uh, One day they stopped feeling like visitors and they became varsity players, and that's where they're at right now. And so one day you're going to be in that same place as a JV player. You will eventually become that varsity player. So um, some were almost afraid to make mistakes. So JV players, that's kind of where you're at. You're going to be afraid to make those mistakes, but don't worry about it because you're going to make those mistakes. Um, they'll play cautiously. They'll play hesitantly. They'll second guess themselves. They'll spend too much time thinking and not reacting. So if you're spending a lot of time thinking about what you're supposed to do and not reacting, you will definitely make nothing but mistakes. Okay, football is a reaction type of game, so you have to learn to react and not think. It needs to be just kind of natural and just like wow, it's there. Okay, instead of playing football, so you're you're spending too much time trying not to mess up. You're going to mess up. You're going to mess up in practice. You're going to make mistakes in practice. Coaches know that. That's where you try and fix as many of those mistakes as possible. You are going to make mistakes in a game, but that's what practice is for, is try to eliminate those mistakes. Okay? Um, that's but that's no way to compete is if you're still trying to not make mistakes and trying to uh, just eliminate those mistakes, because then that's when you slow down, and that's when varsity players, then you're like, whoa, where did they go? Whoa, where did they go? And you're always looking past you because they're always outrunning you and running faster than you. Okay, like this year, I have some pretty fast players on my JV team, and I'm just like, you know, if you play and react, you'll be fine. Okay, so don't play as though you're worried about making a mistake, because you're going to make a mistake both on and off the field. So just try and eliminate them. Football rewards confidence, not arrogance. Okay, so be confident when you walk onto that field. Confidence comes with and from preparation, so you always want to be prepared, and that's the biggest thing. I tell my players always to be prepared uh, for whoever you're going to come up with. That's why we prepare starting on Saturday. We prepare all week long until game day. For us, our games are on Thursday, so we start preparing on Friday night or Friday. The coaches are preparing because we are helping the varsity coaches and stuff on game day anyways on Friday, and then we're in the boxes on Friday night, and then we have a practice on Saturday, and then Monday, and so on and so forth. So we're preparing all week long. It comes from knowing you've put in the work. So if you know you put in the work and you feel confident about yourself, you're going to do fine. It comes from believing that even if you make a mistake, you'll learn from that mistake and you'll come back stronger the next day or the next play. And that's what the coaches are looking for. How do you react after you make a mistake? Because one thing I always tell my players is this: compete with confidence, but stay humble. Don't walk onto the field acting like you've already earned something you haven't. So that's what I tell my players is walk on the field with confidence, but walk on the field and be humble and be there ready to learn from the coaches. And that includes the varsity coaches, because there's some coaches probably on that varsity level that some of the JV players don't know yet. And they will get to know them. And you need to be able to learn from all those coaches that are at that varsity level, at all levels, even the freshman level coaches. So you just need to learn from them and be humble with them and like, oh, I get it, coach. Um, but don't walk onto the field believing that you don't belong there either. So you want to make sure, and I tell my players that you belong in every field that is out there. I don't care where it's at. I don't care what state it's in. You belong on that field. That is your field. You belong on it because you belong in everything. Um, because you do belong there. It's You need to tell yourself that every day, every time you walk onto a field. Carry yourself with confidence. Play with effort. Accept the coaching that's there. Again, regardless of who the coach is or whatever, he's going to tell you how to play that position. Okay? Let your actions do the talking. I tell my players that all the time. However you act between the lines, that's that's where you're going to do your talking, is in between the lines. Don't, not that thing below your nose. Don't be running off at your mouth and stuff like that. Let your actions do the talking. Okay, so when you're practicing with varsity, don't be afraid to challenge yourself. I like to see that. The coaches like to see that. They want to see how you react. If you're matched up against a better receiver or the best receiver, just compete. Do the best you can. If you're blocking the strongest defensive lineman, compete. do the best you can. If you get beat, line up again and compete again. Every rep makes you better. Like I've mentioned before, the field there, the practice field is your classroom. And when you get there on game day, that's your test. That is your test. Okay, that is like a final test. Okay, every game day is a test for you. Every day of the week, it's like a classroom. Okay, you're getting your quizzes on during the week in the classroom on the field. So some of the greatest moments I've seen in players came on difficult practices. So you're gonna always have difficult practices. You're gonna struggle. Just how do you respond after you practice after a struggling practice? Practices, um, you're gonna you're gonna get pushed, especially when you're practicing with varsity. They're gonna push you. They're stronger, they're bigger, and they're faster. They're going to push you. Practices is where do you realize when you're practicing with them, you're going to realize where you need work. Oh, I need work over here. I need work over there. This is what I need help with. Coaches are going to be able to see that. This is going to show a lot of areas that we need to work on. Those practices kind of become the turning points for you too as well, um, because they're not easy. They're forced to help you grow. They make you grow better. Here's something else that I've learned over the years too as well. Varsity players notice JV players as well. They watch them. They like, oh, okay, I see you working hard. All right, and it doesn't mean that they're looking over their shoulder, but they see, hey, you know, next year if I'm just a junior now, next year when I become a senior, and you become a junior, I need to definitely look over my shoulder because you could be coming for my job. All right, so they're watching you too, but they're also there helping you out. That's what they're there for. They're teachers for you. They become mentors for you as well. They notice your hard work as well. They notice who hustles, who's out there too as well, because they also notice that coach might be pulling that person up too to either compete for my job or to take over my job or something to that effect. Because if somebody goes down at the varsity level, where do they go? They go to the JV to pull them up. They notice who keeps coming back at rep after rep after the tough reps. Okay, and many of those varsity players, like I said just a few minutes ago, they become mentors. They may not even realize it, but they are mentors. They've got JV players that are looking at him like, okay, that guy really is running his routes right, or that guy, I see how he blocks. All right, one of the hardest things to teach players is stock blocking, and they seem to have a difficult time doing that, or a back coming out of the backfield to block. Okay, those seem to be difficult things for a lot of them, mainly because a lot of your backs are a lot smaller in stature, and they're going up a big lineman or a big linebacker. Sometimes they make those executive decisions. They will get out of their way or something. Okay, so it's pretty tough sometimes to teach them to do those blocking, but how do they respond for that? So they're again, varsity players, they're watching how you practice, how do you how are you preparing, and the JV players are doing the same things. They're watching how you're practicing and how you're blocking and how you're preparing for your games and how you prepare for everything. And they're asking questions. They'll probably come up to you and ask you, how do you do certain things? Okay, so the JV players are learning from the varsity players. They may not come right out and say something, but if they go into huddle, they'll look at film. They'll watch the film for them as well. So they'll learn from them. One day, they're going to be veterans as well and helping somebody else. So they definitely need to learn as much as they can going forward. Football is one of those few sports where you are constantly preparing for the next generation. Today's JV players becomes tomorrow's varsity leaders. They become the captains of tomorrow's football team. Today's varsity seniors becomes tomorrow's coaches, teachers, soldiers, firefighters, business owners, and or parents. Okay, so that's what they're learning from. They're getting all that type of stuff. Um, so don't waste the opportunity. Keep respect the players ahead of you. Learn from them. Compete against them, and believe that one day, if you keep working hard, someone else will be looking up to you as well. So, in closing, respect those who have gone before you, learn from their experience, but never be afraid to compete against them. Ask questions of them. Hey, I noticed when I'm competing against you, you're doing this or you're doing that. How can I get better? How can I get past you? What should I do? Ask questions. Because growth doesn't always happen when you're comfortable. It happens when you challenge yourself against people who raise your standards. I always tell my JV players that I am not afraid to challenge any team out there, regardless. Now, of course, we don't want to challenge them in varsity necessarily, but I'll challenge any JV team out there. Always, I have no problem with that because I think we're that good, and we will be that good come season time. That's how JV players become varsity players. Is you challenge the teams that are as good or better than you are because you become better teams. You become a better team. And that's how good players become great teammates and leaders as well. So respect the standard, compete with confidence, and earn your place. So again, thanks for tuning in. If you're learning something or find these series interesting, then share with family and friends. Hit the like button and the bell so that you don't miss any episodes. Leave a comment below, and I'll catch you on the next episode of JV Matters. And you all have an outstanding day.